All right, so this is the work session for the City of Minnetrista for March 20th, 2023. This evening we have present Don Motzko, City Clerk, Ali Paulfus, Director of Administration, Gary Peters, Director of Public Works. Council members present are Claudia Lacey, Peter Vickery, Ann McGregor, Kathleen Refkin. I'm Lisa Whalen, and then also Jasper Krugel. And Brian is joining us, and Brian Grimm, our Finance Director. With that, we have 3 items on our agenda: our water account type definition, and then some discussion on the St. Bonifacius Water System Interconnect discussion, and then website. So with that, I'll hand it over to Jasper.
Madam Mayor, members of council, thank you. This is something that the account type definitions is something that was directed to kind of do a little exercise with to try to figure out the different types of uses and correlate those to either a residential account or a commercial account. So pretty straightforward. I've done a little research reaching out to cities like Victoria, Chanhassen, Savage. Those are the 3 main ones that got back to me. Oh, in Waconia. And to kind of talk about what they had. And what I found is that some communities handle it like Minnetrista, where we have a use come in and we just make a determination at the front desk what the account type is, during that conversation. And some cities have a rigid definition and list the account types. And really that has to be somewhat dynamic because a use might not be what you maybe have defined. So what I've done in the packet is added some kind of uses that are pretty standard that we see here in Minnetrista. Single family homes, apartments, multifamily homes, charitable organization, commercial property, industrial property, public institution. So that's kind of school, church, city. And then the one area that I think is unique that no other city had a designated use for is homeowners association common areas. So, and I think that this kind of is driven from some conversations I know that Mr. Peters has had with some of the representatives from Woodland Cove about just the way we handle their account types. Right now, all of their account types are residential, so they pay a little bit higher rate for high usage, and they use a lot of water at these sites for various reasons. So really, I think the conversation that we just need to have tonight is, what is that break line? I think it's pretty straightforward, and if it's not, I apologize that, single-family homes, apartments, and multifamily homes are all residential.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead. Maybe I made an assumption.
Go ahead, Ann.
I actually looked some things up about this, and apparently for apartments, it's the apartment building owner or apartment overall owner that is the commercial, and then the apartment person could be considered resident, but they're not actually paying.
So that was my sort of on that same vein. Okay, with apartments, are they individual apartments metered, or is it the whole apartment building as a whole that's metered?
Right. From what I understand, there's going to be 1 meter in there. So from what I understand, there is both ways. I mean, they have them in Eden Prairie both that way, where they're individual, where each individual homeowner, my son actually just moved into a place where they have their own individual meter in their townhouse, even though they're all one complex.
Right.
And they do have a separate one for their homeowner association, or whatever you're going to call it, the commons areas. But yeah, so there is both ways of doing it. But this one, from what I understand, will have 1 central meter. So each resident will have their water sewer will be included.
Will be included. So how are we going to do that then? How are we going to bill them? Because that's going to make a difference.
It will. So I think right now the way that it's been derived and the way the conversations we've had is that that's going to be residential. So an apartment building that either has a central meter or individual meters is residential either way.
Because 148 units, so let's say it's a residential, that goes up to 25,000 gallons, right? Mm-hmm. So on 148 units, they're going to be paying $12 a gallon from the get-go. I mean, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yes, definitely.
So is that what we want to do.
Do most apartment buildings include water?
Yeah.
It's included in there.
In your rent, yeah.
In the rent.
It used to be. Not necessarily.
It depends on how the meter setup is. So if the meter setup is individual, like Gary said, there's an option to do. The one apartment developer that we have here chose to do a single meter, and then it's included in the rent. But if you have an individual meter for your apartment, which some have, then it's not included in the rent, and then they would receive a bill directly from the city.
The multifamily I can see, because if it's townhomes, I would imagine they're each have their own meter.
Our townhomes are individual.
So, and we should
Yeah.
make that clear that when we're with the development, that multifamily, whether it's twin homes or quads or townhomes, they all have to be separately. I get that. Single family, of course, that's residential. Multifamily then also would be residential. But this apartment is kind of the quagmire, but
Again, I looked it up.
yeah.
Multifamily is considered commercial if they have greater than 5 units.
If it's all together.
If it's 1 meter versus individual.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying, is if it's 1 meter for every unit,
Yeah.
then we can, and we can tell them that's how they have to do their
Multifamilies,
multifamilies.
which they're doing
Right.
now.
I think they are.
I had apartment as commercial.
What about if there's individual meters?
Then it's residential.
Okay, so that's the difference.
I thought it was commercial too. I thought apartment would be commercial, and for ease of administration, I like the 1 meter. I guess I don't know Gary thinks.
I think it'd be better to do 1 meter, and I agree it'd be commercial. I mean, and just rough numbers, 2.74 people per household normally, 100 gallons a day. For 148, you're looking at 40,000 gallons a day per apartment building.
I mean, they should still hit those higher thresholds relatively quickly. They just won't hit it right off the bat.
Yeah.
Are they gonna have a pool?
Yes, they're going to have a
Oh,
pool.
yeah.
They're
So,
gonna
I
have
mean, they're-
landscaping that they're going to
that'll
be
be-
watering.
that'll
they
be
also
a-
have a gym area, so I would assume they're going to have
Showers there
a shower
probably,
in there, too.
maybe not, but yeah, they'll hit that threshold pretty fast.
Okay. I mean, I don't care. I just was wondering. That was my question.
No, that's good. I would say if there's another apartment development in the future, think about that when they're having those conversations. If we want to have a single meter, which it sounds like we prefer, versus individual meters.
Yeah, I mean, if a future developer wants to put single meters on each one, then that's fine. But then any of the community property would be, like, for their pool, and that would be a commercial one. And then the residents are obviously residential. But if it's all one, then it's commercial.
I think the developer in this case just said they were putting in 1, didn't they? Almost?
I believe I just emailed David to ask him. What
No, they did. I remember this.
I think it's 1 4-inch meter.
And for
if I remember right.
for an
We
apartment
didn't tell them. They
building,
just said they were going to.
I don't have an
Yeah.
issue with that, but I think when we're talking townhomes or twin homes or quads, then I think they should each have their own.
And they do anything
Yeah.
that we have right now. Any of the townhomes that are going in Woodland Cove, the original fourplexes that are up off of
110.
110 up there. That's all separate
Yeah.
meters.
Okay. All right. So apartments will be commercial.
Okay, perfect. I guess the next one is charitable organization.
We don't have any.
I had it as commercial.
We probably
Might.
don't,
But we could.
but we could someday.
Okay.
There's no churches? Oh, that would be churches.
Alone.
But church would be
Public
public,
institution.
but
Public
that would be
institution.
charitable too.
It could, they're all not. Those are
Okay.
nonprofits or not for profit. So
Okay.
commercial for that. Industrial, commercial, obviously, I think those
Commercial.
fit into commercial. Public institution, the school, church, and city. Right now, that's commercial. We're good with that.
Okay.
And then
That's how currently.
that's how we
is.
currently
Yeah.
are. And then homeowners association common areas. Now that's a conversation. It sounds like you alluded.
Depends on how much money we want.
Yeah. So this is where there is a potential fiscal impact where these homeowners associations are using water, quite a bit of water,
a lot of
a lot
water.
of
A
million
lot of water.
gallons of water
Yeah.
a quarter in some situations. That'll have a budget impact hit down for
Downward,
us,
right.
downward for us because they'll be paying less. And I would say any changes that we would make would be, non-retroactive if there
Right.
would be a change from commercial to residential. If you choose to do that, you can. It just creates more of a finance challenge to figure that out. So, Yeah, let's have a discussion about the homeowners association common areas. So we're talking about like an area with a pool, or like I'm using Woodland Cove for an example. There's irrigation that they pay for parks. What other examples are there?
Their boulevards, some of their boulevards are.
Monument.
They're common areas or
Common
whatever you want to
areas.
consider that.
Right.
Yeah.
The question is about water that they purchase directly from the city. At what rate would that be? So let's
To fill their irrigation.
to fill
pond,
their irrigation ponds.
which water the homes, that's residential then. Because those ponds are tied to the individual homes. That's not what they're using to water the current parks.
Oh, yep. I don't believe so.
No.
The,
None of the
the,
correct
pond,
parts.
the ponds, from what I understand, in the Big Woods area, that does do, I don't know how much common area is in there, but that does do the neighborhood. But it is supplemented by our city water. I do not believe that there is a plan for a well over there. I know that they are talking 2 wells at along Highway 7, those ponds in there that cover basically everything from Kings Point Road or Kings Point Road east into the new development. That's what those are covering right now. But that will do all their common areas, all their the residential homes and all that in there.
But it won't cover
Townhouses.
the existing common areas, right? It'll be
Correct.
new ones, yeah.
I think that's all tied in now together,
Oh,
from what I
really?
understand. So that's all going to be covered. I think they tied it all together. The only thing that may not be is the center islands along Kings Point Road.
Okay.
Might be on a separate, but everything else is the Foxglove, and I believe it's even the Cranesville area and all their Huckleberry. I think that's all on that system for those ponds. So
Okay.
Do all three of these big developments like Turtle Creek, do they have the same situation, or are the homeowner associations?
Yeah, I've heard from, I think, at least one person in Turtle Creek, I want to say that. Or,
Yeah, they have some higher users in there too. That would, if we would choose to do HOA common areas, that they would transition to commercial, which they would appreciate.
And Hunter's Crest is the same way, is that?
I'm not
It's
sure
kinda
about
same,
Hunter's
but-
Crest if they have any. We know Turtle Creek does.
yeah, Hunter's Crest has
Do they have-
4 meters, I believe, out there in their common areas.
Okay.
How would you split it up if it wasn't commercial? How would you?
It would have to be residential then. There's
The residential rates.
yeah.
Well,
The-
well, why shouldn't it be residential rates? Why should they get preferential?
Yeah,
I was
for
there
big
watering.
users, and we want.
Yeah, but you're
The
living in
issue
like
is-
a country club, so.
Well, but the parks and the open space are open to anyone. So Woodland Cove has a big park off Big Woods Drive and Woodland Cove Parkway, and that's open to anyone in the community to use. It's not gated, so it's not just for residents. It's a public park. So I don't know if we can do it, but each of the individual ponds, are those billed separately, or is that just all billed into because there's so many submasters? The ponds that are watering the homes and the common areas, how are those going to be billed?
Those are billed separate. They have separate
have
meters.
Those are all separate metered.
Meters,
Yes,
So
and there's several of them out
yeah.
there.
Well, then I think the ponds that are being used to water homes and public areas are residential, but like the billing that's for the big park and the pool and all that stuff, that's commercial because that's not for a specific resident. It's for
Well,
the-
but pool though is. The pool is.
but the pool.
I don't think the
doesn't get
park
filled.
at Big Woods, though. I think that's on its own city water system. I don't think there's a pond.
No,
filling it.
there's no pond for that one.
Yeah,
That
so
one's
that's
tied into
strictly on
irrigation.
city water.
That's strictly city water.
I guess anything that's going just on a grass, I would call residential. The pool, I can maybe see the point there that would maybe be a commercial use.
The pool, isn't it just for Woodland Cove residents?
Yes.
Definitely not commercial use.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I was thinking more just because it's for a large group of people that come and recreation. But we've had them
Schools
all
and churches,
residential.
I
I'm
can
fine
see.
with leaving it residential, but I guess that's for the council this side.
Yeah, that's really where we're at. Try to figure out.
I think the pool really used a lot of water last year. I think
No,
almost.
they paid someone else to fill it because we weren't allowed to fill it, so we paid someone else to fill it.
Yeah, they actually truck it in.
Yeah,
Oh,
they brought
okay.
it in, so they only fill it once in the right before
Spring.
Memorial Day, and then assuming
And then it's just supplemented through
Yeah.
whatever they lose. And
yeah. So I mean, the pool isn't even most of the expense is the watering of the public open areas.
One thing to also consider, I don't know if you guys thought this through, but there is the pool at the big park on 44 plus, that. So, I mean, that's, a big user too. So I don't know how that's going to fit in, but that's,
commercial.
that would be commercial
That should
then.
be commercial.
Yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
business.
Yeah.
It's supplemented by us. I mean, it is filled through the lake as much as
Right.
possible. So
But when they need it, they supplement from us, so that definitely should be commercial.
And that would fall under public institution.
yeah, and then all their restrooms too. I would assume you switch to commercial then rates
Yeah.
Those are
For the
for the park in there because
Regional
they have
park,
what?
the regional park.
Yeah, 5 different areas that they use meters on out there.
I would just put all of their meters on commercial,
I think-
or,
Well, yeah, there's no reason they'd be on residential.
This is just the residential list. So I think they're already on commercial, the way it looks.
Okay, I didn't know if it was commercial or industrial or whatever they consider it. But
Yeah.
okay, so then the homeowner association ones, we're saying
I personally think they should be commercial.
commercial?
We're telling residents to let their grass, if you don't like paying this high amount, let your grass.
Then you're saying residential.
No, I'm saying I've got people coming up to me saying, we're being told we shouldn't, expect to have green lawns if we don't want. And I'm quite sure that, Wooden Shores and all these lovely are going to have very green lawns. So if they choose to have those beautiful lawns, like most of us do,
They'll pay less under commercial than they do.
I know. I don't think they should pay less.
Okay, so then you want residential.
I think they should get residential.
Okay, and
I'm
Peter,
really torn because they're big users and we're trying to get everybody to change. And I think if we
And
keep
conserve.
if we keep, say, new developments and we keep the same structure where they have all the amenities that need water, then we haven't really reduced the usage. So I am torn about that. I think I would go though for commercial in this situation because of that it is an open park.
For the pool,
That's true. The pool
this is
definitely
very
just-
private.
Yeah.
This is not for your, person living in a, $250,000 house that
Well,
can't
the pool
afford.
and the park are on separate
It's very
meters. That would be easy to
exclusive
break
area.
apart.
No, that's true.
We can break up how the bills are.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
If-
they-
if-
So, thinking outside of the pool, because that can stay separate in an HOA that doesn't have a pool, but the parks were all open, how would you in general want it? Residential or commercial?
It's not a city park.
I don't
though,
think it's
is it?
commercial. I think it's
no, I think these are all neighborhood Woodland Cove HOA owned parks. I mean, what Kathleen is saying is they're open. They don't card you to use the park, but most of the people in Woodland Cove use the park. It's not.
Other people also come in there.
They
to
could.
use- No, they do. I've met them.
So, I mean, and so let's say this pool is still commercial, residential. Pool is residential for sure. Now it's the open areas and the parks. Okay, Ann, come on. I know she's your friend. You got.
I think it's equivalent to living on a golf course. I think, it's.
Okay. Becomes, does it come down to a legal definition of what is commercial and what isn't? I mean, if somebody challenges,
No, I would.
There's enough of a
it
gray
doesn't. So
area.
it really is up to the council.
It is. It is. There's no set. Here's what it is, and here's how we need to follow. You can make it what you want.
You really can.
Yes.
Well, then in that case.
What do you want?
Well, you said anybody can come in and they don't get carded, so.
It's what, 1 in 10, 1 in 100? Let's be real. How many people are driving up to
There's
that
a
area?
lot of people that come in there. I live there. I've met them. I'm not making it up. Just like people who go to Gene Linear Park don't just live in Trillion. A lot of people go to it. A lot of people know the Woodland Cove area. There's people on Kings Point that come down with their kids.
So
kids.
you want it
They're-
to be commercial.
I think the
I
open
think you
area
could do the park areas, you could say could be commercial, okay? The pool and all the other areas should be residential. Now, here's my thought. The reason I think it should be residential is one, to kind of try and make even the HOA open spaces be conscientious about their water use, okay? But the other thing is, this cost is divided amongst all these homes, and the cost is minimal, really, when you think about it. I mean, it might be $5 a house per month or something like that. It's not that much. So I think it would be okay to say parks are commercial, since they're not only used, primarily used, but not only used by the people there. And then the boulevards and all of that are there for, I mean, sure, they're there for the enjoyment of everybody, but they're primarily there to enhance the development.
But the boulevard, we're responsible for the boulevard trees. Correct, Gary? The boulevard trees will eventually be city trees.
Yep, anything in the boulevard will belong to the city.
So the residents shouldn't be paying for the water used to water the trees with boulevards. Also, most of the boulevards are tied to the big park meter, at least in the main stretch, so I don't think you could break out boulevard versus the park area.
Well, the same could go with the grass then. I mean, technically, if you look at anything in the right of way, it's technically city utility easement right of way, but I mean, we don't mow it, we don't water it. I mean, that's up to the homeowner. Same with a tree. I mean, if the tree is in your yard, they would, expect that to be watered by them. At least I would. I mean,
yeah. Right, but the city's going to be paying for so let's say the HOA stops watering all the boulevard trees, the city will pay for all the brand new trees.
Then we use the tree.
well, that'd be your decision if you want to or not.
Right,
But
I'm saying that's to tie into the boulevard area, that's all open public area.
Okay?
Are you two in agreement?
No, not really, but like I said, it's kind of.
I mean, we keep telling people to conserve and not have their grass so green. And I think if you're living in a very exclusive community and your grass is inevitably going to be very, very green, I don't think you get a special treatment. And I don't think it's commercial. I mean, reality, maybe, yes, there might be you might say some people come through, but if I live on a private country club golf course, and there's a few little areas that other people can come into, I don't expect to get special treatment on the cost of the water.
Well, the golf course would be commercial, so the golf course would be getting special treatment on the cost of the water.
Well,
That's why I'm saying, Gary, are the parks in Woodland Cove, are they separated by separate meters?
yes,
So the parks could be commercial. So let's just say parks are commercial and all other areas are residential. Is that fair?
Yes.
I think it's kind of a compromise. And
How
so
many parks meters is there, or Gary or Dawn, or do you think, or just?
probably 3 or 4.
It can't be too many, right?
Yeah.
and what's
I'm
in
looking it up here. I
are
had
all
it
the parks
open,
with
but
playgrounds?
right now Woodland Cove has
7, 8 meters? HOA meters?
15 meters
Okay.
out there right now. There's one. I mean, it's hard to distinguish because, like, at Lotus and Mayapple, it covers the park there. There's a small park in that corner, but it also covers some of the outlying areas. Really, I think there is only two. There's only 2 parks there. The Big Woods and that.
There's the big ones. There's the open area on Lotus and Mayapple.
Yep.
But that's
A park technically, but it's not really it's not big.
just
But
open space.
and then there's the pool.
There's the pool. The pool has that tiny little sand park, but that wouldn't matter because there's nothing to irrigate there. There's the park over by the townhomes off 7, which I would assume is watered from the pond behind it.
Yeah, that's part of that system.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is also on city water.
And then
but-
I don't know what those are the only parks right now. Everything
yeah,
else
the
is-
new ones. I mean, it'll all be off.
Yeah.
Right.
Pond
So there's
systems.
really 2 parks.
And then it'll just depend what they do with the new pool area
done-
and the other
written down
parks
as
they're planning on
residential,
putting in
but
back
I've
there
got-
where
I've
the
got
water
the-
could
Right.
possibly go.
Yeah, so
But
I mean,
that's a public park. Yeah. So let's say parks or whatever system their parks are on, that's commercial. The pool and all other areas are residential. Okay. All right. Next. Thank you.
I think that's it for that one.
Okay.
Okay. Do you just want me to jump right into the St. Bonifacius Minnetrista
Yes,
Water
this will
Interconnect
be fun.
meter project? All right.
More water.
More water. So this is something that I think one of my first weeks here is we visited
Yes,
St. Bonnie, and we
I
kind of
did.
got.
Yes.
I mean, the ball was rolling before I got here.
Yeah.
But this is long time coming. So there's an agreement that we've attached to this. Our legal counsel has drafted that agreement. Just an FYI, we're done paying any additional Bolton and Mink invoices from St. Bonnie. That's done. That's the ship has sailed. So we're talking about a new agreement. So, and this agreement's a little convoluted, and I can go through the summary of what will happen here. And really what I'm looking for is feedback from the group as far as, are there tweaks that we want to make to the agreement before
Yes.
we
Yes.
give it to, I assume yes. And I would like to make some changes too. Because the terms of this agreement were dictated by St. Bonnie. So, just in summary, St. Bonnie will complete the work in conjunction with a 2023 street project. So they have a street improvement project for 2 meters on 2 existing interconnects. So it's basically just adding a meter to an existing interconnect that we have between St. Bonnie and Minnetrista. After installation, Minnetrista will own and operate and maintain the meters. So any maintenance, calibration, things like that, our crew will take care of. Any of those costs will be split 50-50 with St. Bonnie. This is where it gets a little odd. Minnetrista will cover the cost of the meters 100%, and then all other costs outside of that will be split equally between the parties 50-50. Now, the cost of the meter, this is where it gets a little weird. The cost of the meters is probably only about $15,000 for the 2 meters, I'm guessing. I don't know, $7,000, $8,000 a meter. So they cut out this little portion, made it a little bit more muddy. Out of a $120,000 project, now $15,000 of that is just on us. That's what they've requested. So the next thing, St. Bonifacius will pay 50% of the initial water meter cost over a period of 3 years. So that $15,000, if Minnetrista uses water from St. Bonnie, they will then get a credit back for the $15,000. So let's say $17,500 or $7,500. They'll have a credit for when we use their water.
Okay,
This is too.
I know.
Well, my question on that was, what happens if they use our water? Do they pay it right away then, or does that get tacked onto their bill for 3 years?
Quarterly. So they would pay us. And then by the end of 3 years, then whatever balance is due regarding the meter charge.
That just seems like a nightmare.
It does.
It's a nightmare. I kind of feel like saying 50-50 split, or we don't do it at all,
Yeah.
and they can do it. If they want it, have them do it. 50-50.
Seen a lot of nodding.
I like the way you think.
I'm sorry.
That's what I initially proposed. So just so you know, 50-50 across the board.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
carving out the meter cost. Okay.
Just walk away.
And then
And walk away if they don't.
I think right now, I mean,
Which we spent
honestly,
so much
my
time on.
opinion, I think we just do the old dealer and I'm done, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't see this happening. You know, just knowing what I know of what's happening there, it's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
No, but
okay, so clear to me, 50-50, just clean split. None of the 3-year payback deal, just 50-50.
But they didn't tell you why. They apparently had reasons why.
They are under this grand illusion. I will be honest, they're under this grand illusion that we're going to be buying a lot of water from them.
Millions of
For
gallons.
some reason, I don't know why they think that they think that we are going to bring all this water from them.
Oh, okay.
You know, I think originally that was the plan. That's why all these interconnects were put in, that we were going to need that water at that point because of, you know, the line they put in and that type of stuff, but it never happened. But I still think they're on that, you know, thinking that they're going to have all this water, or we are going to have all that water needs. But with the tower in place now, and once the new plant gets in place, I think we'll be sitting just fine. So.
Okay, so are we in a position to blanket walk away?
We're fine. So we're fine. We can open up the interconnect now, and we
There's-
have for 20 years.
Yeah, there's an emergency order in place that says myself or their superintendent can open at any time for any city emergency, which would be, you know, whether our well fails, their well fails, if a major fire, something like that, we can open them up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's in place. Same with the city of Mound.
Really, we're just this project isn't creating any new water for us. It's just metering an existing connection.
I do like that they would pay our rates though. Like that was, I liked that part.
Well-
That was good. So let's
But
keep-
we have to pay them our rates, which is, we would be losing money when you think about it. We'd be paying the highest rate from gallon one. So we would, and then we can only charge our residents the lower rate. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
we would be losing money.
So, just a little story behind that. I talked to Gary and Brian about just our cost to treat and just try to come up with a number. We propose to them $2 per thousand, just because it's like that's our cost to treat. They think that we're going to get it for $2 and sell it for $11.93. That's what their concern is, and that's why they proposed $11.93. And moving forward, the agreement would be whatever the highest tier is between either city. That's under the assumption that, like Gary said, we're going to use water outside of emergency periods, which we're not planning on doing. And in all likelihood, it would, in a couple of years, once we get additional water infrastructure, it could be flipped, right? That we're not going to need water, they might need more water. Who knows? So like the $11.93, I wouldn't get too caught up on it. You know, we have to come up with a rate somewhere, you know, and it's not that much going back and forth. Like I think Gary and Mike, I talked to Mike, and Mike estimated maybe we used 300,000 gallons last year, 300 units at $12, you know, 300 times 12, that's what the amount would be. It's not a huge amount. Either way, if it's $2 or $12, but I want your feedback on it. You know, because that's their driver. They think that we're gonna use millions of gallons of water from them and make money off their water for us, which that's not the
It's
answer.
either status quo or a convoluted contract that we don't need. I guess. What do you want to choose? Basically,
Well,
It's
okay,
like-
let's go back in time now. When we had the drought and we were talking to them in the first place, didn't we kind of go hat in hand? Didn't we kind of
Well,
went in there thinking that we really wanted to have a really good agreement with them, and then they turned us down, and then we had to go back. And
But I think the
then-
dynamics have changed a lot. There was the whole thing about the treatment plant only operating at 75%, which that was not right. You know, a lot of factors have changed. That it's
Well, and the
a
tower
moot
wasn't-
point. And the tower wasn't. Yeah,
Tower
yeah.
Yeah, the biggest thing was storage issue we didn't have, and we have that now, you know, and let's knock on wood, hopefully we do not have any more, you know, major droughts like that, but, you know, but once the second plant gets in place, we should have plenty.
Well, I was even saying, sorry. I was even talking with Jasper saying, well, worst case scenario, if we started now thinking about drilling these 2 new wells, depending on the outcome of the tests from the well water, if worst case scenario, we have those up and running within a year, okay? Those could be up and running within a year or a year and a half. Then, and even if the treatment plant is 2 years down the road, we can mix that water with our current water. So it won't be ideal, but that would be worst case scenario.
Sorry, no, those are going to be just submersible, similar to what 6 and 7, just feeding the treatment plant. So they're not going to have a well house with treatment on spot.
I thought they were having
Yeah,
a
no,
well-
I mean
okay.
that. You know,
Okay,
if you want to do that, then you're really going to escalate your costs to have point source treatment that are just going to be removed. They
I
would
thought
just
it would
be
go into our system.
Nope, they're going
Okay.
to go. They would be drilled in directly into the treatment plant, similar to what basically right now 6 and 7
Okay.
are.
Okay, sorry then. Okay.
Last
Never
year
mind.
was a dry year, and we still were, you know, fine once we got the tower up. And this year we have tons of snow.
And we have well 3, you know, that backs up. Yeah, it is the glorious water that we want, you know, and 4 is looking like we're not going to be able to use it. It's just, you know, it's not going to happen. But we have 3. I mean, we can, you know, if all dire needs, if we came down to it, we could start 4 up if we had to. People won't be happy, but at least we'd have water.
Mm-hmm.
It's either no water or kind of bad water, you know
But
what I mean?
it's the summer months for irrigation. So if dire straits were to hit, you could do a watering ban or do a once a week watering versus every other day. So there might be.
But with them drilling 2 new wells out there for themselves for doing their irrigation, filling the ponds, that'll take a lot of stress off our system also.
And one of the main drivers is they're doing a construction project next year. So it's really, I think it's on Glacier, right? So they're doing a construction project. So if we don't
Right.
put one in now, we won't put one in for another.
20
Well, when we would do our side of Glacier, so I mean,
We could, yeah.
we could do it then too, but yeah.
So that's kind of the driver. This isn't going to be some magic new source of water at all. It's just kind of better managing the way the water's moving and understanding that. Because right now we both sides just kind of write it off. If there's an emergency opening of that, like we don't know which way it's moving. We know which way generally, based on the tower heights, but we don't know the exact quantity. This would just give us the exact quantity, which is probably a good thing to understand.
Yeah, I mean, what that happens is, like you say, with the DNRs is looking, we have our supplemented 271 million gallons that we can pump per year. 10% of it can be unaccounted water, which is used in flushing and all that. As they start tightening up this, to get rid of that unaccountable, unpaid water, they're going to want more and more of this meters. I mean, I can foresee this coming down probably within the next few years, that as we flush hydrants, we'll be putting a meter on that hydrant to calculate how much water is coming out. Right now, we're just doing a guesstimate. 10 minutes, 500 gallons per minute. 10 minutes per hydrant. So I mean, you can guesstimate, but we're going to be doing that, and it's going to happen. I think that with these interconnects, if we will eventually be looking at doing this down the road, but just for that, because I mean, that is a lot of water that's unaccountable, and they're going to want to really tighten that up. So.
I'm really surprised that there isn't some requirement that interconnects are metered
already.
But there isn't.
There's not.
So we're not required to do it. This is just by our own accord.
Well, I guess what I would say is if they want it metered, let's say fine 50-50. Let's just make it clean slate, and then we can talk about dollar amounts once we're there. Once we've got past that hurdle, because it seems to be two separate issues.
And to me, the dollar amount isn't a big deal. We're not talking about millions and millions of gallons of water. If it gets to that for whatever reason, then I think we have to reevaluate and maybe talk about it. So, I mean, they're going to want to know a rate that you guys are okay with.
What do you think?
I'm impartial. Obviously we said 2, but we're talking a very limited quantity of water. So if it's 12, it's not going to be like break the bank.
So how many gallons do you estimate that we used of theirs last year?
Probably, I mean, I would say might be a little light. I'd say, depending on what it is, 300 to 500,000 gallons in the times we opened it. But vice versa, we also opened it in their emergency when their well went down. So how much went back? I mean, it's probably a wash.
It really,
when you really think about it.
It really is. So I mean, even at 300, if we use 300,000 at 12, that's $3,600. So it's not a huge amount of money. So even if it's 2, it's only $600. So, but even 3,600 isn't. I mean, just a number that we agree on is what we need.
And what is their highest rate?
I want to say they just adjusted it. I want to say it's around 8.
So why wouldn't we pay their highest rate?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I mean,
Because they think that we're going to be
exactly
using lots of their water, so we should pay.
so why don't we just ask them? Just say 50-50 split, and we pay your highest rate. And if they say no, just say okay. Then everything's off the table. So that's up to you. I don't know. I mean,
This is like, let's not be pissy about it.
yeah.
And then they would pay our highest rates?
We went to them.
Would they pay our highest rates then too, for when they use the water? I mean, it's
Well, that makes it easy. We pay their highest rate when we use it. They pay our highest rate when they use it, and that's why we have the meter, so we know what everyone's using and when.
Okay. All right. I'm fine with that.
I think we're going to get to this point anyway. They're going to say no
Yeah.
with the
They're gonna say
50-50, so I
no
think
for
we're
the
just having a
50-50
conversation
split.
about nothing else.
Okay.
See what happens there. And
So we pay. So their rate per thousand is $6.80. Ours would be they would pay us $11.93 this year, and then it would change annually based on whatever we adjust our rates. I can propose that.
You can propose it. I mean, and if they don't want to pay us our highest rate, they
They
have
can come
them
back with
and say
another.
with their highest rate. Then that's fine. We'll entertain that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then all ongoing maintenance would be conducted by Minnetrista and billed back to St. Bonnie.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
50-50.
Yeah.
Really. So I think that's what we have. The estimated project cost, we don't really know because their engineer hasn't come up with it yet, but we're thinking it's probably around $60,000 per meter location because manhole involved and excavation, road work, all that stuff.
They're incorporating that into their project costs to
Yeah.
look at what overall is a add-on for that. So
They're going to want to know pretty soon if they're going to do this project this year.
they are working on the plans, so they will have.
They haven't even gone out for bid yet?
I don't know.
Oh, geez.
No.
Not
Okay.
everyone is as efficient as we are.
Okay.
That's what we want. That's why we're doing it so early.
All right. Well, I think
All right.
I have enough information. So 50-50 split. The rates would be the highest rate for each party. So we would charge them $11.93 this year, and they would charge us $6.80.
And if they don't like it, then come up with another number. So, all right.
Okay. That's it for that one.
Next.
I'll be quick. I think it's me, right?
It's Allie.
Yeah. So at the strategic planning session back in 2022, and as discussed a little bit tonight, the council identified a more user-friendly website as our priority for improved civic engagement. In your packet, I provided a lot more background information, but most recently in 2020, the council approved a redesign with our current host for $2,700, and they still currently host our website for $3,500 a year. So I solicited proposals at the end of last year and virtually met with 3 website hosts. Civic Plus was the most commonly used and offered the best features for the most reasonable price. So the proposal is a one-time cost design fee of $1,000 with the annual hosting fee of $4,700, and I think it would improve navigation, functionality, obviously a design that reflects our community, and so on and so on and so on. We've all seen our website. So I included some examples of cities in Minnesota that use Civic Plus in your packet. So tonight we're just looking for council direction to move forward with Civic Plus as our new website host, and we'd hopefully go live fall of this year.
We don't have a contract with the existing one, do we? Okay.
No, well, we do, but we don't have any sort of termination language in there that hasn't already, lapsed.
And when?
So I would just notify them.
Yeah. So when would this be live?
A fall at the latest.
Fall? Okay.
I would say at the earliest, probably August.
Okay. Nice.
Okay, so you have annual hosting fee, and then the city does receive a discount because we also use their Muni Code service.
Correct.
Is it a discount off of the $46.53, or is that with the discount?
That's with the discount.
That's with the discount.
Yep.
Good question.
It's slightly more than what we're paying right now.
Correct. It's about
by
$1,000 more
a year.
annually.
Annually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's 5,000 versus 3,500, right?
4,700 versus 3,500.
Yeah.
So a little
1,200.
over.
1,200.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. I think that's an amazing design fee.
Yeah, it is. Back in 2015, it was 10,000.
Yeah, it was
Back then.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I think they've just gotten more efficient at it too.
And they're also making up some of that money with the
Definitely.
which is okay. That's all right. That's good
Right.
business. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I'm good.
Good?
Okay. Perfect.
I
Well,
like
I'll
that
keep you all
that's they
posted.
do, so.
Say that again.
Oh, I like that that's their focus of their business.
It is. I would say really any city you go to, the majority of them have Civic Plus. So in Minnesota at least. So, okay. I'll move forward. And keep you all posted when it
All
goes
right.
live.
Anything else?
Nope.
That's it? Wow. And, all right. That's it. So if there's a motion to adjourn, we can be adjourned.
So moved.
Thank you. Ann? Second. Peter seconded that. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes.